Well, hello, everyone. This is Dr. Amig from Unabridged MD, and I'm back from vacation. It was an awesome time in Corsica, and I'm very grateful for my team who was here for all of my patients, and I was also available for my patients because it's direct care, so I really care. And today, I'm so excited to have with us Cerise McCaston. She's going to say her name better than I am. Cerise is a French word for cherry, so I love to use that.
No, it's perfect. You pronounced it perfectly. Most people butcher it, so it's...
Oh, cool. Cerise. And so I'm so excited to introduce her to you guys because she has a journey that is really one of a kind. And I think we can all learn a lot from her journey. And so I'm going to really instead of introducing her to you guys, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to ask questions to Cerise and we're going to learn about our journey so you can all learn from her. Okay. But the very, if I had to say just one thing so that you can stay on is that you're going to learn how we can go from martial art to acupuncture and Tai Chi. Okay, so stay in because you're going to learn a lot. All right, Cerise. So tell us about you. Tell us your story. How did it all start? First, how did you even start to do martial arts?
So it started actually when I was 9 years old, and there was a nonprofit organization that was founded by Dr. Abayomi Meeks, and the name of the organization was Moyo, Nguvu, Cultural and Healing Arts Center. So I know that's a mouthful usually for a lot of people. But that nonprofit, he was doing a children's rites of passage program, and it went on to become a nationally recognized program for a rites of passage. And so the organization was just focused on youth empowerment, among other things. So very centered in community involvement and building family and community and good community citizens. And so I participated in the rites of passage program. And so there are several components of it, one of which was martial arts. And that just the culture, and especially being a young African American, or some people may identify as Black, or however you identify, a person of color, there were not as many areas or spaces where we got to touch indigenous things that were linked to our indigenous heritage. And so components of that would be African drums, African dance. We also covered other things like finances and healthy eating. So a full gamut within this program. And so I really, really enjoyed the martial arts component of it, and took classes beyond the summer program. And then I actually took a break because at that time I was skating competitively, did competitive ice skating. And so at that time, my goal was to try to get to the Olympics. So one kind of overshadowed the other. So ended up not going to the Olympics and went a different direction. But after I went through high school and graduated, I was in my freshman year, and the person that I was dating at the time, he got in touch with my old instructor, so Dr. Meeks. So at that time when I was 9, I never knew Dr. Meeks as Dr. Meeks. I always knew him as his martial arts rank, which at that time was Ecalipa. And so that was the only name that I knew of him. So at that time, he was also a doctor of acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine. But I would later come to learn that. So I was about, I went to college. I graduated at 17. So that was, I was about 17, maybe had just turned 18. And it was a end of the year event. So Kwanzaa, a celebration, African-American celebration. And they would host an event each year. And I saw him, he's like, oh, there's Dr. Meeks. And so I was like, that's not Dr. Meeks, that's Ecalipa, So we saw each other, and it was like this serendipitous moment of like, he recognized me and I recognized him. And from then on, it was like this this journey and this relationship that grew over time. So I started regularly training again, and the program was just so significant to me that I achieved my first what we call a rank, or in like other martial arts, like a karate, like your first belt. And so all that time I still had it. I held on to it, and I'm a bit of a collector of things, historical things. So I still had it, and he was astounded that I did. So he honored the rank that I had earned, and then continued to kind of build my skills from there. But I had always had a dream of becoming a doctor, and that was also very early on. So around 6 is when I kind of knew that's the path that I wanted to go. And so he and I would dialogue, and I would share with him that I wanted to go and I wanted to be a doctor. And a lot of our conversation was just the difference in modalities or methods. So Western medicine and what its capabilities were, what some of the limitations were, and then Eastern or traditional medicine, what the capabilities and limitations and or benefits. And so a lot of the things that I was wanting to do with the medicine were our discussions about Western medicine might not be the best bet for you. I think a lot of the things that you want to do would be better served in a traditional medical model. And so I started volunteering just because he was in the office. And so phenomenal businessman. He ran for over 20 years, ran 3 businesses simultaneously. So he had a nonprofit, a medical practice, and then he was also a musician. So he ran a band at the same time. So he was definitely a man of many hats, but I was just fascinated by him. And so I would just go and spend time. And sometimes, being a college student, I would make the commute from Boulder to Denver, but I didn't have a ton of money. And so I didn't necessarily have the means to pay for classes all the time. But he was one that he also believed in sweat equity. So I could come and work, and that was a period of time where I was able to afford to be able to still train and volunteer, whether that be just cleaning up around the space or doing some of his paperwork in the office for the clinic. And we would just sit and talk about years of conversations and dialogue about life. And he was a very spiritual and spiritually guided man. So a lot of those conversations were very deep about spirituality and how that plays into the world. And so the first martial arts that I was practicing was Kubigana and Gumi. And so when I had returned, that was probably at the end of 2001 into maybe 2002. And so for that period, I was just doing Kubigana. And then once that happened, he also was a teacher of Tai Chi. And he just would talk about the benefits of Tai Chi. And
you have to explain what Tai Chi is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tai Chi is a martial art, but it is also a method and modality that's often associated with health and wellness. So a lot of people know it as Tai Chi and Qigong. And those two things, they're two different systems, but they go hand in hand. So in my opinion, I would say if you're going to practice Qigong, you need to practice Tai Chi and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is Tai Chi, it translates to swimming on land. And that is to take the energetics of the body, also known as Qi, and to develop the skill set to be able to cultivate that energy, to be able to move it and direct it at will, and to be able to use that energy that your body can harness to heal yourself and to keep yourself healthy and balanced. So it's great for people of all ages. It has a number of benefits. We could just take the whole time talking about the benefits of Tai Chi.
I'm just going to use the example because some people here are listening to the podcast. if you are like, if you've ever seen some movies where you're seeing like old Asian
Exactly.
people in the Central Park or something, and they are moving very slowly, that is Tai Chi. I think what's really cool was, for me, when I realized that Tai Chi was actually a martial arts that was was created because they were under the, what's the story? Like the warriors were under the repression of some other
Yeah.
army,
So
and they were not allowed to fight, and so, but then they were allowed to move, and so they were doing this Tai Chi, which looks so,
peaceful and looks just dance like. Yes.
yeah, and it's actually all a movement against an adversary. Is that correct?
That is correct. And
Yeah.
so, like many oppressed people, whether that be, and so Tai Chi is a form of, it's what we call an internal martial art. So to make the distinction, karate or like a jujitsu or some of those other styles, those are considered an external martial arts. It's very forceful and it's kind of in your face. It's combative in that way. Internal martial arts are just that. They work on the internal energy. Any and all martial arts systems have an internal aspect to it. So if it is any martial arts that has remained the test or been able to stand the test of time, it will have an internal component because that's just the nature of longevity. So you have to have something that's able to sustain and withstand, and you can't go around doing some of those other movements without having an internal component or piece to it. But Tai Chi is the most forward facing style of martial arts that you would see, that is an internal martial art that is internal style that is also used as a martial art. And so that is the movements are very flowy, and they're designed to, number one, have a martial aspect, and then number two, an energetic component. So each of those postures or movements, and you nailed it perfectly. A lot of times people most often associate Tai Chi with the elders in the park that are moving very slowly. I juxtapose that. And then also, if people are fans of Kung Fu movies, it's the elder that you see in the movie that when they have like 20 guys or even just one guy, that they punch the guy across the room and he goes flying, and it's like, oh, they just made that up. To some degree, it's exaggerated, but I've also been in spaces where that is very true, and it hurts.
I want to pause you just to comment, because there's so many gems that you've said so far. The first thing is this idea of like a mentor, right? Like just this guide that you found, that found you also, and this relationship that's being built. From outside, people may not realize that martial art, acupuncture, and Tai Chi are all very linked.
Yes.
And that's what's really wonderful to hear from you, and hearing, okay, well, I was doing martial art at 9 years old, and then I discover Tai Chi later, and then I discover acupuncture also later. So just this beautiful, it's beautiful to hear about this relationship you have with your, I think in Japan they say sensei. Okay, in mentor, I don't know how to say it in China. For mentor,
I believe, I'm not exactly sure what the Mandarin translation is at the moment. Kind of going blank, but something to that. So instructor or
master,
guide or master is also Sifu.
Sifu. Chifu. Oh, Sifu. Yes, that's the one. Yeah, that's in that Kung Fu Panda, right?
Yes. Yep.
Sifu.
Yes.
So Sensei Sifu and so on. But it's really beautiful to hear you talk about this. So, okay, so you did the martial art, then you paused for a little bit, and then you go back to it, and then you discover Tai Chi. And tell us now how you discovered acupuncture. Like what made you go and realize, and I just wanted to mention this, it's, to me, I was just laughing a little bit interiorly when you said I wanted to be a doctor, and then I realized that maybe I didn't want to be a Western doctor. I'm laughing just interiorly because I was like, I think if you had been with me, you would have wanted to be a Western doctor.
Absolutely. So that's a really good distinction. So I'll touch both of those, and I'll try to be succinct. So Dr. Meeks was, he was actually the first Black acupuncturist here in the state of Colorado. And so that was where we began the conversation. And so everything, to tie it back into the martial arts, the Tai Chi and the acupuncture, is those ideologies are what we call a holistic thought process. So holistic meaning it takes everything into consideration, and the goal and the focus is to be in balance. And so that balance is different. It looks different for you versus what is required for me versus the next person. And so with acupuncture, I really got a chance being in the clinic and volunteering to see the magic of acupuncture. I saw Dr. Meeks with a host of patients that everything, and I received treatment. And so he was part of my prenatal team. And so I got acupuncture, and then I had a midwifery group that I went through. But it just the magic of it, of, seeing that you could have a patient come in with a headache, or you could have someone that comes in that has menstrual cramps or hot flashes or a sports injury or cancer or diabetes or a host, like you name it, that they would come in. And the difference, it was like looking at two different people. I can remember seeing patients come in, one of which, well, a couple of them were dealing with chemotherapy. And so what they would do, and the plan that they worked out, was that they would go to their chemotherapy first, and then they would come do acupuncture afterwards. And so when they would walk in, they looked very, very lifeless, almost like the life got sucked out of them. And skin would be more darker or grayish tone to it. And once they had a treatment, they were lively. You could see the color come back in their face, and they were walking more upright, and they had the vitality back. So to see that happen and experience some of those patients go into remission with the conjunction or the marriage of those two medicines was just phenomenal to me. And so the other part that I think that with I think that Western medicine, and I agree, probably if I were to be with someone like you, that you have a more holistic mindset about it, that you're taking some of those other things into consideration, and it's not just under the guise of diagnosis and then a pill to mask the symptoms. Those things within the scope of acupuncture. The other dynamic that I was really drawn to is the incorporation of the spiritual aspect as well. And so that makes a difference. And so that's also this gray area within our society, or I can only speak for American society, that I've noticed is that there's such a separation of dialogue when we talk about our health. And, we kind of say it as a blanket state of like mind, body, spirit, but there's not really a lot of discussion about how those things integrate and how your mental and your spiritual health affect your physiological health. And so I've always been a fan and a fanatic about psychology and how the mind works, and the psychosomatic or mind-body correlation, and how those interrelate and go hand in hand in the manifestation of disease or the promotion of health. And so that's how I came to learn about acupuncture, was through Dr. Meeks, and just seeing in the clinic of what he did and the results and conversations and dialogue. And I mean, he was an encyclopedia in himself. If you ask him a question, he could go very deeply. He was a scientist. And so he always promoted warriors, priests, and scholars is the paradigm, or the triad in his students. So if you were a student of his, That's what he was promoting in whatever your field of study, whatever your area of study is, that you had the warrior component. So you had the martial, which is to address the physical component of your body, to be able to strengthen and balance your body. The spirit is to address any imbalances, any of those characteristics that may take you out of balance, and how to put yourself back in balance. And then the mental kind of resides between the physical and the spiritual, because then the mental kind of is a good diagnostic kind of to show or display where some of those imbalances may be. And if you address the spiritual and the physical, then the mental piece tends to come back into balance, and then you have a whole balanced, complete person. So,
no, this is so powerful, because, and we talked, and so I think that, for the auditors, the listeners, we, Cerise and I have talked quite a bit about this, and we are so much aligned. Because that I completely agree with you. I think that Western medicine, in many, many instances, forgets that we are whole, and we have been so hyper specialized that we're only seeing one piece, and then we don't have the time, or we don't take it. I don't know which one, probably a little bit of both. And so then you don't hear about what's the patient's spirit or issues and emotional issues that they have. And the truth is that the way that Western medicine is going with the insurance system right now is that, and I'm really, you're going to hear, I'm so passionate about this. But the fact that now our patients are seeing sometimes one doc, and then they're seeing different other providers, how they call it, a PA or an NP. But it's not the problem of the PA or the NP. That's not the issue. It's the fact that it's fragmented.
yes,
And you don't have a continuity of care,
yes,
which is so important.
yes,
And and then our patient, and then like physicians, Western doctors are like, don't understand why some patients are so in tune with their holistic practitioners, like their acupuncturist and so on, not realizing that the reason is that they have a relationship with them,
yes,
which they do not have. So I just wanted to share this because I think it's so important. And hearing you talk about this, I was like, yes, that is what all healers, and I put Western doctors as part of the healers because we are doctors. We are supposed to get back this balance of our patients from all of the aspects that they are, and
yes,
not fragment that. Which leads me to because our time is kind of like closing, and I wish I could, and you're gonna come back on the podcast and we'll talk more. But I'd love, I would like us to talk about the retreat we're doing, because we met, and then I was like, Cerise, we need to do a retreat. Like, we're gonna work together very soon, and we need to do it sooner rather than later, and let's do a retreat. And tell us about what you're looking at in terms of this retreat. And so for those who are in Colorado, we're doing a retreat on the first day of the fall, which is half day on Saturday, 20th of September. But yeah, tell us a little bit why this retreat. Because I can tell it, but I've been talking about it.
Okay.
Now it's time for Cerise to talk about it.
Yes. So I think that was a perfect segue. So with the retreat, or the stay treat, as we were calling it, oftentimes there's other headaches and hassles that are associated with having to travel to go do a retreat. So sometimes you spend the time and the energy that it takes to get to another city, check in, any other inconsistencies or hiccups that might happen. Then you're already stressed out, and it's kind of puts a damper on it. And so for our stay treat, and the focus is to piggyback off of what you were saying as far as the scope of healing, is that with Tai Chi, and really, as practitioners, it's our job to help you heal. We can't heal you if you're not in the space that you are ready and prepared for that journey and that process. So we're really facilitators of that process. But at the end of the day, what where, in my belief, is that I'm here to help you facilitate your healing. I can see things maybe that are blind spots for a patient or a person that's practicing Tai Chi. And so with that, we start the journey of teaching the individual to be present and how to listen and pay attention to their bodies, so that when your body presents warning signs, that you're able to listen and respond in an appropriate way. And so with the Tai Chi component, everything is mind, body, and spirit. And so some of those things happen just the day of, because when it's in the room, we can kind of see, oh, okay, you might be a little bit tired today. And when you become tired, physiologically, when I'm looking at a student, I can tell based on their posture, maybe some propensities that they have, whether that be in their personality or their physiological, their body structure, where that may put you off balance. And it can correlate to your sleep. It can correlate to your emotions. It can correlate to your diet or your digestion and all of those different things. So it's a very in-depth and intensive but gentle and easy way to begin to start to develop this relationship. If you're already a practitioner, to help you strengthen that relationship and hone your skills of how to tune in and tap into the self, and how to keep yourself healthy and balanced, and to learn some new techniques on stress management, learn some techniques as to address anxiety. We have discussions about diet and exercise. So within my classes, I cover a host of things. And so I always struggle to really pinpoint this down, but it's basically similar to acupuncture. It's your personalized medicine for any person, and it's open to all experience levels. So if you've never done Tai Chi before, if you've never been or a participant in something like this, we will welcome you and walk you through this process very easy and smoothly. And if you're someone who you're a well-studied and practiced person that has done a retreat, this will be something that will keep the practice going and help re-energize you to continue your journey on health and wellness, because that's another component, that when you go away, you create this environment that is serene and it's isolated, but we often don't have the practice or the skill set to be able to take that back home and continue it on. So what we call continued habits and behaviors, or long-standing habits and behaviors. So that's also the tools that you will get at the Stay Treat.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. Yeah, I'm very excited. I think that if we had to imagine the person, when you mentioned this earlier, when you said like some people would come and they were almost lifeless, and then they went through just a session, and suddenly like they were looking like
transformed,
and perfect. And that's how I see this Stay Treat, like this retreat. Like the goal is really to set intentions, and just like sometimes you have to pause and to just think, and being with like-minded person and be guided. And yes, you can do it on your own, but being guided and being in a space with other people that are wanting the same thing is so powerful.
Absolutely.
So I'm so excited. I'm excited for me,
Yes.
I'm excited for me.
Yes.
I know what it does. And so I'm excited. But yeah, so Cerise, I would love to have you again on the show. Where people who want to find you, where can they find you?
So I am available on social media. So so Instagram and Facebook, and I'm working to be better at social media. I'm a very private person, so I'm exercising this muscle and being different in social media. I have a website that's primarily for booking. So for basic massages like a Tuina massage or Tai Chi classes. I'm hosting a weekly Tai Chi class every Saturday, and that is in Aurora off of 2nd and Peoria. And the website to book is theconduit.simplybook.me, and I'm sure we can put links up in the description, and then Facebook and Instagram. And then I also have links to those on the booking site, and email. If anyone ever has questions, they can always email, and I usually try to respond within 24 hours to any communication received.
Wonderful. Well, Cerise, thank you so much for coming on the show. And everyone, if you are interested in the the retreat, you can book it on the website onabridgemd.com. There should be a pop-up. If you have any issues, just let us know, info@onabridgemd.com, or you can reach out to Cerise as well. We will put all of the information in the show. And if you have enjoyed the conversation, don't hesitate to share it with other people. We learn so much from each other, and that's really why we created this podcast. Thank you so much, Cerise. Have a wonderful day, and see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.